Good afternoon. My name is Andrea Jenkins, and I am the president of the Minneapolis City Council. I'm going to call to order this special meeting for Friday, July 29th, and I will now ask the clerk to call the roll to verify the presence of a quorum.
Councilmember Osman. Here. Payne.
Present.
Koski.
Present.
Chugtai.
Present.
Chavez.
Present.
Ellison.
Here.
Vita.
Present.
Rainville.
Present.
Goodman. Absent. Wansley.
Present.
Johnson.
Present.
Vice President Palmisano.
Present.
President Jenkins.
Present.
There are 12 members present.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk, and let the record reflect that we do have a quorum. Next, we have the adoption of our agenda, and I'll entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
We have a motion and proper second. I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Osman.
Aye.
Payne.
Aye.
For a minute.
Koski.
Aye.
Chugtai.
Aye.
I hate when that happens.
Chavez.
Aye.
Ellison.
Aye.
Vita.
Aye.
Rainville.
Aye.
Wansley.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Vice President Palmisano.
Aye.
President Jenkins.
Aye.
There are 12 ayes.
That carries, and colleagues, we have some unfinished business. The mayor called this special meeting in order to consider the 4 zoning items that have been twice postponed during litigation that pertains to the city's 2040 comprehensive plan. I'll ask the city attorney to advise us on the status of that litigation and what actions we may take at this time.
Sure. Thank you, Council President Jenkins. Judge Klein, as was relayed to the council, Judge Klein did issue an order that stays his previous summary judgment order in the 2040 litigation. As you'll recall, the summary judgment order had a variety of components to it, but the primary component was that it enjoined the city from taking any action in furtherance or in implementation of the 2040 plan when that order was issued. And these rezoning actions that were on the agenda contemporaneously with the day or the day, I can't remember the day after, I think maybe that summary judgment order came out, were implicated by that order. Now that the judge has issued a stay, the council can act, I'll say business as usual, but it's status quo as it existed prior to that summary judgment order. So the council is free to consider these matters. All 4 are rezonings, and as you're aware, rezonings are considered legislative actions by the courts. So you are free to make your decision on these now at this time.
Thank you, City Attorney Nielsen, and I will ask my colleagues if they have any questions or concerns for the City Attorney. Councilmember Ellison.
Thank you, Madam President. Just from a procedure standpoint, so we've got the stay. We can take this action up today. What are next steps? As you know, we know moving forward, this is going to be something we kind of have to contend with. And does the stay only affect these items, or does that sort of go into committee work? We'll sort of proceed business as usual as well.
Council President Jenkins, Councilmember Ellison, good question. What I can say is some of the aspects of litigation strategy we'd be happy to discuss with you outside of the public forum. But as you know, the substantive appeal continues. The state does not win the case. But the substantive appeal continues. The city has submitted its brief, and their plaintiffs will be submitting their brief. Then we have an opportunity to submit a reply brief. The court will set a date for oral argument before the Minnesota Court of Appeals, and then they will take the matter under advisement. It's tough to say when we can expect a decision on the appeal. One thought is looking at potentially spring of next year. But in the interim period, the motion for the stay of the district court order is in effect, and that would apply to committee work, as well as any land use applications or other actions coming forward in this interim period.
Thank you.
Council Vice President Palmisano.
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to ask the city attorney to please help us understand firmly where we're at in item number 3, which is the rezoning for 5121 and 5129 France Avenue. We have Mr. Terex in the audience. He's written to the council on a couple of different occasions and come in appeal of this, but my understanding is that this process is complete. There is no more public hearing. We cannot accept comment. And can you just help us and him please understand where we're at in that process? Because this land use has been approved.
Yes, Council President Jenkins, Councilmember Palmisano. As I said, a rezoning action is a legislative action, and the procedure to consider a rezoning is dictated by state law. The public hearing for a rezoning is actually conducted at the Planning Commission. It's noticed according to the requirements of the law, and then the public hearing is conducted in that forum. At the conclusion of the public hearing, when the public hearing closes, the record closes. And a rezoning, unlike quasi-judicial land use applications like a conditional use permit or a variance, automatically proceeds to the council, to you, for final action because you are the legislative body. And so a public hearing is not conducted on a rezoning in the council. That was already done. Quasi-judicial applications are final at the Planning Commission stage unless appealed. And if they're appealed, then that is what you're familiar with, where we have another public hearing on an appeal in front of the Biz Committee. So that's where the procedural posture of where these are at, including that one.
Thank you. Sir, is in an official council meeting, I'm happy to have you connect with the city attorney and I right after the meeting, but there's no opportunity to do that in this proceeding. Sorry.
Thank you, City Attorney Nielsen and Council Vice President Palmisano. With those clarifications and understandings, I would entertain a motion to approve the rezonings and associated ordinances for items 1 through 4 as listed on the agenda.
So moved.
We have a proper motion and second. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Johnson.
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to speak to item number 1 briefly, which is in Ward 12, and I'm very supportive of this item today. And I want to specifically thank my colleagues for making the time today to come on short notice for this special meeting. This item is, and by the way, I also want to thank the mayor for calling the special meeting as well. I want to thank our city attorney's office for all of their work as well in enabling these kind of projects to proceed. And CPED staff for all the work that they've done with the various applicants as well, because it has a very significant impact. I mean, even in the short term, while these projects were on hold, I know for this project specifically, interest rates went up, so that adds to costs. I know that they were in a really challenging position around where their purchase agreement was. But this project in the ward, this is an adaptive reuse of a church that has been in the community for decades and decades and decades. And as the congregation shrunk, like many churches in our city, they struggled to determine what to do with it next. And in this case, we have 2 individuals, professionals, developers, who are willing to take on a really challenging project of this nature to try to integrate housing into the existing structure, the existing building, and breathe new life into this property, this part of the fabric of our community on Minnehaha Parkway. And it is a really remarkable project that's going to add 21 units inside the church and another 7 in a new structure. But I also want to lift up the individuals involved, Beth and Mary, because they have been through quite an ordeal, not just with this one, but they had one other project, which was actually their first project as they started up their development company. And they opened up, I believe, their sales room for this condo for sale project something like a day or 2 before the pandemic began. So the timing could not have been worse for them. It practically bankrupted them and took everything from them. And then to enter into this project and to be hung up by a judicial order that, frankly, I don't think any of us saw coming, was just the challenge of a career. And, you know, for these two women to be taking on these extremely challenging projects and for them to start up and run a women-owned development shop in a very male-dominated industry is remarkable enough, but to continue to take on these kind of projects is really amazing. And so I just wanted to take a moment to note that and everything they've been through, because there are real people behind these projects that are working to try to create more housing in our city to make it a better place, and in this case, preserving a building that has been part of our community's fabric and that we want to continue to see moving forward as part of our community's fabric. And so we appreciate them hanging in. I appreciate all of you for being here today to help this project move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Johnson. And were there any other comments or questions? You know, I will just speak briefly about the broader importance of the Minneapolis 2040 plan, which, you know, we passed as a council in 2018 to address the harms that have been created in our communities as it relates to housing policies, particularly redlining and other zoning issues that have been used to control and or oppress or eliminate people from certain communities and neighborhoods, and in an attempt to artificially limit housing opportunities for people in our city. And so I am thrilled for this lifting of the injunction and allowing us to continue to build more housing, as it will help us to address this really critical affordable housing issue that we have in our communities. So without further ado, I will ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Osman.
Aye.
Payne.
Aye.
Koski.
Aye.
Chuktai.
Aye.
Chavez.
Aye.
Ellison.
Aye.
Vita.
Aye.
Rainville.
Aye.
Wansley.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Vice President Palmisano.
Aye.
President Jenkins.
Aye.
There are 12 ayes.
That motion carries. Finally, colleagues, we have the order of announcements. Are there any announcements or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I would just mention, Councilmember Ellison.
Sorry, thank you. I wasn't prepared for announcements today, but today and all through the weekend, we're going to be having the Northside Arts Crawl, known as Flow. And so if you've got time, please make it on, over to North Minneapolis. A lot of the activity is going to be on West Broadway, but there's some other studios on Plymouth and other places. So go check out Northside Flow.
Thank you, Councilmember Ellison. That's what I was going to announce had you not announced it. So, colleagues, without any other items on our agenda, I will, and without objection, declare this meeting adjourned. Have a great weekend.